We're back with another episode with Allison McGuire here on Meredith with the Y. I am your host, Meredith Willits, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about today, so you can be as surprised as me. So here we go. Hello, everyone. This is Meredith with a Y, and I am your host, Meredith Willits. Today we are going to go deep, changing lives, and I am giving you the keys to the castle. Thank you, Allison, for, I guess, bringing the heat today. We'll see what you come up with because that's kind of your thing here in this.
Yeah, surprises around every corner. You never know what we're going to talk about.
I love it.
Well, I was thinking like, okay, what are we going to talk about today? What haven't we talked about? And kind of alluded to this a little bit the other day, but I've just been thinking about you and what you're doing up there at the lake house. And I feel like what you're doing is number one, no small feat. And number two, I wonder if some of your listeners know what you're doing because you share a lot on Instagram, but the people that maybe just follow you from a podcast standpoint, like let's break it down for them on what's going down at
Going
the island.
down. That is actually a great topic. So thank you. Because I'm here right now. I'm on the island. So November 4th, my husband and I bought a property in Southwest Michigan. And it is 20 acres. Two roughly of those acres are on a self-contained island. So we own the entire island, which sounds crazy, but it's just like, a yard, so to speak. It just happens to have water all the way around it. The house was built by the grandfather, so there were 3 generations on this property, and it was built by hand by the grandfather, and every single cinder block that the house was built by was brought over by him, and everyone called him crazy, and honestly, over the past 6 or so months, I have to agree with them because, like, right now I'm watching one of the guys helping me carry wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow of dirt to flatten the ground because it's, wavy. The ground's wavy, and I want it to be flat. Every single thing has to be brought over an 88-foot footbridge, and I'm pretty sure that the bridge is original because it is on its last legs, so we'll be doing some repairs to that. But I've been watching this property for about 4 years now, roughly, because we own a house across the lake, and it's in, like, my direct sight line, so I can see this property from our other place, and it went up for sale, and the daughters wanted to sell it. The mom had passed away that owned the house, and the dad went into a assisted living, like, facility, so they couldn't take care of it, and the daughters live all over the place, and it is a humongous project. And, there's absolutely I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say in hindsight if I would have taken on this project had I known. I don't know. Because everything is complicated. Like, literally
Well,
everything is hard.
and I think when you say, right, so like let's break this down for people that haven't had any sort of visual of the amount of work that this project is entailing. I mean, we are talking, there are multiple houses and dwellings and structures and barns on the island. The logistics of getting things over an island, like you said, I mean, it's like original wacky heating units. Not only did you have to are you basically taking everything down to I don't want to say the studs because you're not necessarily doing that, but you're doing plumbing, you're doing electric, you're redoing every building inside and out, light fixtures, like everything.
Yeah,
And not only that, there's multiple buildings. It's not just one. So like this is
yeah,
a huge project and it is the logistics of having something on an island are completely different than just being able to like drive up and unload a pickup truck or a dump truck or you know, a a piece of equipment. Like everything has to be done by hand. And I think
everything,
it's
literally.
an incredibly huge project. And you also had to empty the whole thing. So not only did you have to like redo everything that was there, you had to empty, like you took it with as is, where is with all the stuff in it.
Yeah, literally every When we got here the first weekend, we got the keys, I think it was, like, maybe noon on a Friday, and by I think it was Sunday maybe, or maybe it was all day Saturday, my husband had walked 20 miles back and forth, because
Wow.
as I was clearing the buildings and putting everything out on the lawn, he was then putting it into a cart and carting it over to the mainland, again, across an 88-foot bridge, and, you know, over and over and over again. Like, there was the one time, my favorite memory, I walked into the one building, and all of this can be found on my social media. It's at Meredith_Willits on Instagram and Meredith Willits 34 on Facebook, or Turtle Bay Island on TikTok. So there's the main house, which is a 4-bedroom-ish, 2 full baths, family room, dining room, kitchen, laundry room area. On That's the main house, which I am sitting in right now. So, and then there are 2 what I call, like, outbuildings, which are the original buildings to the property. So those are those original 2 cabins, if you will, which are one-room sheds, for a better word. And those are around 1900. The main house, like I said, is 1939. There is a boathouse that I don't know the age of, which is grandfathered into to this lake, because you're not allowed to build them anymore. You just pull your boat right into this garage, which is partially like underground, which is super cool and I love so much. And then there's a barn that's also made out of cinder block. Everything except for the outbuildings are made out of cinder block, which is a whole 'nother problem. And that is probably also early 1900s. It was originally used as a auto repair shop. So there was an oil change bay built into the ground, which we have since filled, which I got so much shit on social media that we filled it with cement, but it was a hazard. The walls were caving in. Everything that I do or change is either for safety or because there's structural, is that the word?
Structural.
Structural issues that it can't be saved. Believe me when I tell you, if I could just leave everything the way it is and slap some paint on it, I would be there in a minute. But unfortunately, a lot of these issues, like our dock had to be completely torn down. It had this really cool metal diving board platform. And then above that platform was another platform just to, I guess, sit on. I don't know. And it was all metal and just covered in like pokey metal pieces
Rust.
and
Yeah,
rust and
probably.
silver paint, and I mean, there's a lawsuit waiting to happen, like diving board, it's not even that deep there, I don't know what, but so then there's the barn, and then there's another small caretaker's cabin, which is basically like a studio apartment cabin, which I was super excited to save. I had my guys in there. They're like, "Yeah, it needs a new floor, needs a new roof." And then I walked him around to the front of the cabin and showed him. I'm like, "There's this really weird window. Like, let me show you." And they're like, "Yeah, it's tear down." Like, in 1 second, it went from 12 grand to make it new to complete and utter tear down, because they're like, the entire front wall is rotted. 'Cause it
Oh,
was like the
against
elements could
the
get in between the wall, front outside wall and the window. So, like, so there's all these buildings, I'm trying to preserve them. The one cabin house I wanted to make into a bunkhouse is one side of it is settling about 6 inches lower than the front of it, so that has to be jacked up, praying that the building will stay intact because it is early 1900s.
just so people know, that's where the term jacked up comes from,
Literally
in case you
needs
were
to
wondering.
Yeah,
When something's jacked up, and you gotta jack it up,
yeah,
that's
this
why.
literally needs jacked up, and, when people look at it, they're like, "I want no part of it," and that's one thing, like, we are in a very rural area of Michigan. It is very seasonal for work here. People are used to working very seasonally, and it is hard to find people to help.
What's the season?
So because of all the lakes, most
Oh,
people are
it's
season
summer.
yeah, most people are gonna be here during the summer. Up north, you have more of, like, the ski resorts and such.
Mhm.
Fun fact, Michigan, I think I read, has the 2nd most winter ski resorts in the country. Very weird. I know.
Wow.
There is so much to do here, like, we're going to be Airbnb-ing this place. There's wineries everywhere and breweries. There's a what is that called? A vineyard literally right behind our property. There are hops farms all around. There's tons of antiquing. Lake Michigan is 20 minutes away. There's 5 lakes, 6 lakes, like, right where I'm at right now, and obviously, I'm on a lake. So there's, like, tons to do here. We have kayaks. We have it's all the things, right? It's all the things.
Do you still have the boat?
So the boat is still in the boathouse. I did not know that there was a boat in the boathouse. Apparently, while we were signing our papers, someone told Jim, and I am always, like, flaking out. Someone told Jim, "Oh, yeah, I guess there's a boat in the boathouse." But when I came and looked at the property, okay? So I came and looked at it by myself first, and I only went in the house, the 2 outbuildings, and the barn. I did not go in the small cottage, and I did not go in the boathouse. Didn't seem like it was necessary. It wasn't gonna make a difference to me about those. I don't even know if we had the keys to them. And so when we went in there, I had no idea that there was gonna be a boat at all because there originally was a small boat in the barn, and when we came, that was gone. Someone had taken it. I guess the daughter had given I don't know, someone had access anyways to the property from the time I looked at it till the time that we got the keys. So the clothes in the mom's closet were gone then. The boat in the barn was gone and a couple other things, but for the most part, everything was here. Oh, I forgot. I was telling a story about my one of the outbuildings. So let me go back to that really quick because I just remembered. So when we were clearing out these little cabins, these one-room cabins, the first weekend that we had the keys, which was so exciting. Like, we were so excited. We had no idea what we were in for that time. At that time, it was like, "Everything's great. We just need to put down paint and new floors. Like, life is so easy." Since we've gutted 2 bathrooms, the whole thing. So I'm in this cabin clearing out decades. When I say decades of stuff, from water skis to cabinets filled with 4th of July decorations and tools and you name it. And so they had like this like rafter area a little, like into like towards the ceiling. And they had all their water skis stored there. So I'm pulling all the water skis down and I get an entire face and head full of mouse poop.
Oh
That
my gosh.
the whole face full, down the front of my clothes, in my hair, all over covered in mouse poop that this mouse had decided to use a water ski boot as its home. And, like, that's literally like, I am not fazed by bugs. I am, like, found dead birds under boxes. How did dead birds get under a cardboard box? I do not know. Dead mice, I mean, you name it. I am just like, whatever at this point. Like, I am just immune to, like, all of it because it's kinda glorified camping. Like, we haven't had water here since November 4th, and, like, I literally if I have to go to number 1, I just go outside. Like, I'll find, like, the most secluded area. I used to go in the bushes and trees, but we cut those down, so now I have to, like, hide next to a boathouse or behind the RV. Like, it's overjo I mean, I am feral. I am feral at this
Well,
point.
let's back up and talk about that because not only have you purchased this and obviously you've been cleaning things out, you are you are in it. You
Deep.
are sleeves rolled up, jackhammering,
Oh, yeah.
working alongside of the people that you are working with there. Do you want to tell that story and how that came to be and like how long you've been up there and all of that?
So, in the beginning, we called a couple construction companies, and they were, like, a year out for any type of work at all. It was, "We can get to you in a year." And, we bought this as an investment property and also, like, for us to use, but we need to make money off of it, and we need to make money off of it sooner than later. So, waiting a year and paying the mortgage without any rental income is just not feasible for us. And so, I got a referral from someone, and the referral was a person that they knew, and had done some work for them, and so he came out and was staying at our one property, and to say I was naive and trusting is an understatement. Because I couldn't be here because he was staying in our property, we were going by, photos and videos and trust, and he completely swindled us, like, for thousands and thousands of dollars, like, almost, probably almost $20,000. What had happened is he was saying that he needed help carrying stuff back and forth across the island from, like, laborers, like $15 an hour guys, and I'm like, "Sure," like, "I get that. I don't want you shopping. I don't want you schlepping. I want you working and accomplishing things." And so he found some guys around the area here that were willing to do kinda like hourly labor, and as the weeks progressed and the checks were written, and people are like, "God, that's so stupid. Why wouldn't you check on him?" Well, the thing of it is stuff was getting done, albeit slowly, stuff was getting done. But in hindsight, once we found out and talked to the one main guy that was helping him, the other guy was doing all the work. So every time we would come up, anything that was done, our main guy hadn't done it. And the only thing that he did do after he was fired had to be completely torn out because it leaked and it wasn't done right. So the only thing I really felt like I got out of him had to be completely removed. And that stung, that really stung. I trusted him, and I really thought that he was taking care of my family and our property, and we were paying him a ton of money to do so, and he wasn't doing anything. He just was like he thought he was just kinda like, I don't know, man about town. So that took me a while to get over that anger and frustration, but I found some other people that have been helping and teaching me who are very kind and honest. But that said, I have now been here for basically 7 weeks, going home, like on weekends alone. And, when the guys go home at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, I'm here by myself. And that has been, you know, needed because I'm exhausted at the end of the day, but it's also been very contemplative time, and it's been quiet. It's been very quiet. Lots of lists made in my head, of what needs to be done, and which is probably good, but my husband is at home in Chicago, and the reason we weren't coming up when the first guy was here is we live 2 hours away. So I thought it was being handled. I thought I was in good hands. I thought it was being taken care of. And it's a 2-hour drive. So in between my kids' activities and sports and all the things, it seemed like I didn't need to come up and I couldn't have been more wrong. And the kiss of death was I said, look, we need these things done by the time we come up in 2 weeks. And the other guy who had been doing all of the work the whole time was out of town.
Mm.
And so he wasn't able to do those things. So the guy was pretty much exposed that he hadn't done anything in those 2-week period of time because his quote helper wasn't there to do all of it. So that's how he was exposed. And I said, he had to go home anyways, back to his family. And I just said, hey, make sure and take everything with you just in case, I don't want any other workers or my kids getting into your things. So fortunately, he took everything with him, and then I made a phone call to him and went through all of the issues. And I was actually really proud of myself for confronting him and being honest and, saying like, I know what you did. And so, it's been a lot of challenges. It's been a lot of growth. It's been a lot of physical and mental and emotional expansion and work. You know, when you're in something that is so loud and so quiet at the same time, you're left, I've been left with my own thoughts quite a bit and my own growth, my own challenges, physical challenges, like you wake up in the morning and it's like, wow, I am 50 years old. Like it's like, oh, I used a jackhammer for 3 hours last night and now I know where my shoulders and neck muscles are. Now I know where every muscle is in my body. So, it's a little jarring to go, wow, that's physically hard for me. Like that was the 65-pound jackhammer that every time you make it through, like, obviously it does the work for you still have to pick up 5 pounds and get it to a new spot, and then it would get stuck, and then I have to ask for help because the jackhammer's stuck in the concrete. Can you come over and help me? And everyone's been so kind and gracious and to help. But it's sobering, and speaking of sobering, you know, with COVID and post-COVID and having absolutely nothing to do, I think I got in a pretty decent habit of probably drinking way too much. "Oh, it's dinner time, I'll have a glass of wine with cooking, I'll have a glass of wine with dinner, friends come over, we'll drink a bottle or 2 of wine or, tequila and lemonade and blah, blah." Like, everything's a party, and since I've started this project, I can tell you that that has completely ended. There's no need to create something out of nothing. There's no need to create a party. There's physical work, there's mental exhaustion, there's emotional exhaustion, and there's crashing on the couch. There's 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 been a huge transformation of self-empowerment and recognizing that I don't even know what the word is. I was creating energy in a space where there was none, you know? And I hate to say that because I know I have to go back to the suburban life when I'm done here, but my desire is to go back to it in a very different way. Because eventually this project will be done and it will be rented out, and we will probably have a manager that property manages it, so, like, they're gonna check them in, check them out, cleaning's lady. It's not like I'm gonna be here every week.
Mhm.
And I have to go back to baseball games and softball games and volleyball games and driving and grocery shopping, and my family. And honestly, I don't know how I feel like I'm gonna need another project because
Yeah.
there's just this experience is like like the best way to experience life. You know what I mean? Like, every day, there's 4 pounds of dirt under my nails. Go to bed physically and mentally so tired and accomplished and creative. As I move through the house, it's like, even if it's something as stupid as making a list for Menards and thinking of the things that I need and the design and what I wanna put there and how I can use those water skis as art and telling the guys what needs to be done today. I'm basically in charge of a 5-guy team, that even though they're giving me feedback, I'm still the one directing traffic. The other day it was very obvious I went to get everybody Subway so they don't leave for lunch and never come back. And as we're standing in the barn, everyone's just kinda standing around eating their Subway with their sandwiches on pieces of wood and furniture, and, like, it's just haphazard. And I was just, like, looking around, and there's all these grown men and me, and it was kind of like this realization of I really didn't think about myself as a woman until that moment. Felt like I was part of a team, and then for whatever reason in that moment, I was like, these are all guys that are helping you and, like, they're all listening to you and I do know a lot of women in my town where I live that are they're in construction and they own construction companies, and it just felt really I don't know, I don't even wanna use the word powerful, it felt like, capable. I felt really capable in that moment.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's been huge. There's days that I have asked myself, "Why in the hell did I take this on?" I had a perfectly good life before this project, but I know it's part of my journey. I know it's part of my path. I'm gonna be using it not only as an Airbnb, but I'm also gonna be hosting retreats for clients and people that wanna be a part of this experience and mindfulness and, yoga and sound bowls and, kayaking and whatever else people wanna do here that, during retreats. Yeah.
So I feel like you touched on something that is, I don't know if it's in the air right now. I don't know if it's something that I'm experiencing too. So it feels like it's in the air, but I feel like it's something that's happening right now where there's what you call like a pause or a space between or a transition or just quieting, like a quieting that you're experiencing when you're there because it might sound counterintuitive because when you think about all of the things you're doing, you're so active and you're so tired at the end of the day. But it's like a pause from the mental busyness or the disconnectedness. Like, because I feel like what you're doing, you're so in it because you have to focus, right? Like when you're holding a 65-pound jackhammer, you can't let it hit your foot or hit the wrong thing, right? Like you have to be so present, which is like a completely different thing, I think, than we're all used to in, you talk about sort of your other life, right? Like your suburban family life where it's like, okay, I'm always like kind of mentally somewhere else, right? And here you've had this quiet time and you started by using the word, contemplative, which I think is probably such a good word for that. And you've been in it. And I think the fact that you've been in it has I think everyone can relate to being so present and like what when stuff falls away, when like I even said this to you yesterday, like when that sort of addiction of busyness is gone, you are left with yourself and your feelings and your present moment. And it's such a sobering experience. And to have done that for 7 weeks, I feel like this has to be a transformative experience that you're going through. And I would love to talk a little bit about that, about your experience and like what that has been like and what, you know, just that, I guess, that feeling of kind of everything else falling away in a sense, and you being able to be with yourself. And you like you said, the drinking thing, like, that's huge. All of that is huge.
It's huge. And as you were sitting there talking, I'm looking at my suburban life, right? And I live in a very upscale community. And I'm saying that for a reason because, just getting up in the morning in my town, it's the shoes, the belt, the jeans, the hair, the makeup, the jewelry. It's a part of that existence, right? The car and the social life. Are we going to lunch? Are we doing dinner? Are we having drinks? Are we going to I just got invited to a pool party, back in June coming up. So it's very much this social experience that is very on point, right? And that comes with a lot of drinking. It comes with a lot of showing up in a certain way. And I'm also that person. Like, I don't wanna mince words here. Like, I can do that, and I can do it well, and it's fun to do that. Like, it is a
Yeah.
fun check out. Like, it is like it's almost like being on stage in a sense. And then also the busyness of the suburban mom of I have to drive here and I have to pick up and it's the carpools and it's the grades and the this, like there's a lot of energy surrounding the busyness of the suburban household.
Yeah.
The complaining of no time for dinner or how you're never home or how your kid is doing XYZ in sports or their extracurricular activities or, whatever. And I am not saying that there's not value in all of that. I see the value of the self-worth that my kids get for being on a team and for having teammates and for being successful in school and having friends and the pickups and drop-offs and sleepovers and all of that. Again, not negating that. But I will tell you that these things that I'm referencing can't help but take you out of yourself. They are noise, and it might be very powerful, it might be very useful, but it does not lend to too much awareness of yourself. It doesn't lead to a lot of growth because you're always 20 steps ahead of yourself. And when you're not inside of yourself, when you're not grounded, when you're not present, when you're just busy all the time doing,
Yeah. Instead of being.
yeah, when you're always doing, I feel like you kind of lose your mind a little bit. which is probably why so many women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s are alcoholics and looking for something. And I think that what I'm creating here, especially with the retreats, I think it's going to give women, especially, the opportunity to get dirty because a lot of the things and get present and get back to self. A lot of the things that I do here at the island in a day as I'm doing them, and this isn't because I'm special, this isn't because I'm patting myself on the back, it's an observation. As I'm doing the things in the bugs and the mice and the dirt and the whatever, the heaviness, the hard work, I think to myself how many friends that I have that wouldn't even consider doing that thing that I'm doing in this moment because they believe it's less than them, it's beneath them. And I'm here to tell you that, because again, the suburban housewife lends to a gardener, a landscaper, a lawnmower, a house cleaner. Like that's my life when I go back. I don't cut my own lawn. I don't edge my bush. I don't do any of that. I have a cleaning lady, okay? Like admittedly, I am admitting these things. I am all of these people. But over the last, 7 weeks, I haven't had that here in a sense. Yesterday elbow deep in a bathtub covered in grout and paint and God knows what, cleaning a tub, you know what I mean? Like I'm in it, and I'm here to say that, getting dirty, putting on a pair of, rain boots and walking in the rain and getting muddy and not caring about makeup or hair or what you're wearing or being cute. You don't have to create anything inside of that space. Nothing needs to be created.
You know what's so interesting as you're talking, what I'm thinking is, we think of people who are doing quote unquote more than us as kind of expanding us, right? Showing us what's possible. But what I was thinking when you were just saying that is you were you've been expanded by way of that. Like
Mhm.
we don't think of expansion as when we think, like you said, you think of doing manual labor as less than, right?
Right.
You don't think of being expanded. And when I say the word expanded, what I mean is showing you what's possible, showing that you too can do X, Y, and Z, things that you didn't think were possible. Typically, when people look for expanders, you're thinking of those expanders as, some highfalutin achievement.
Taking a
But like,
class, going to Bali, whatever. It could be anything, right? It could be
yeah,
anything,
something typically powerful, high dollar, whatever, right? But what if we looked at expansion and as growth in all of the things, right? Like, so you're going through this expansion process by way of getting your hands dirty and being so in it, which is such a beautiful thing because like what feels better than
yeah.
like the just that process of like growth and expansion, like not that it can't be painful at times, but like there's a fulfillment that comes with that that is really unmatched, I think. Like they say the way to build kids' confidence is to like let them do things and let them fail and let them find their own achievements so that they feel like, wow, I did that. Right. I
I'm
feel like
responsible, yeah.
that's kind of the same thing in an adult level of this expansion piece. And I think it's such a beautiful thing that you're able to experience. Now, I'm sure most people listening to this kind of, obviously know what you do, know you're a medium, know that you can, check in with spirit and do and are psychic and can do all of these other amazing things. So when you check in kind of and you look at that space and you look at, you going through this, because I feel like this is like, you know, this is a poignant situation in your life. Like this is a big thing. It's a big
Yeah.
rock. When you look at that, what do you feel like the lesson is? What do you feel like the purpose is for where you're at right now in this sort of pause space?
The only thing that I can think of is a stripping away of ego. I feel like it's a falling away, recognizing how and when and with whom I wanna spend my time, recognizing that I am more than the sum of my parts or the parts. And we all are. I guess to stop believing the bullshit, to also I got about 6 more years and, 2 more years, Brock will be in high school, so I'll have all high schoolers and out-of-housers. And I think that it's redirected and pivoted me to a new passion I didn't know I had. But I really feel like it's redirecting me to center, center, to my, like, true north.
Mm,
And also allowing me to recognize that I can be all of the things and that showing up in all of the ways and not putting myself in a box ever. And I think that's super important because I think that so often we feel that because we like, fancy vacations and champagne by the pool, that we can't also then be 100 other different facets of the whole. And, the other thing I've learned is to ask spirit for help. When I can't find something in the barn that I need, I literally or in the house, I'll literally just ask the homeowners who are not living anymore, I'll be like, "All right, I need a bungee cord, please direct me," or "Where did I put that thing?" or "Where is a bolt that I need?" And, like, every single time I feel, like, called to a corner of the room or into a cupboard or whatever. So I've learned to literally ask for help because I have no one to ask for help so often that I've leaned into the spiritual asking for help, and it does work, PS, which I've never really done that before so much, so it's kind of a new thing for me, which I'm enjoying, to
well, you
ask
were
for
called to that, right? We talked about that a
yeah,
couple of weeks ago, right? Like, that was kind of the message that came through to you, and it was like, "Don't compartmentalize this part of yourself, like,
yeah,
let it be all of you in every day."
authenticity. Be
Yeah.
authentic, and that's kinda I think it's really fun, it makes you a complete person that can have conversations, like, now that I've had this experience, I can talk to people that are investors or realtors or Airbnbers or concrete pourers or jackhammer workers or carpenters or plumbers. Like, I can have all of these different conversations by way of this experience of experiencing and doing. And I'm working with these 2 guys who are 24 and 26 and a couple other guys as well, and, they pull me they're like, "Just so you know, you're doing the jackhammer today. Like, I'm gonna show you how to use it, and then you're gonna do it." I'm like, "I'm in." And I've said on here before, I love 20-year-olds because they're open. They don't have, they haven't oddly, they don't put me in 50-year-old woman box. They see me as an equal, and it's so beautiful. Like, they they don't see me like, they'll text me at 9 o'clock at night and be like, "What are you doing? Like, how's your night going?" It's like, "Bro, I just saw you like 3 hours ago." And like, "Yeah, yeah, but I'm just checking in?" And they invite me to learn, and I think that being seen by different generations, by the opposite sex, by people seeing you as being capable, and also applying yourself so that people don't think, "Oh, she's not gonna wanna do this. He's not gonna wanna do that." Being involved, getting your hands dirty, being a participant. Like, the last couple days I've spent in the house organizing the island house, and the guys are outside working, and I just keep bringing boxes out and bags of garbage and more boxes to go to Goodwill, and it's like, I'm in here, I'm not out there with you putting plywood on the roof, but I'm still in here elbow deep in cleaning and organizing and moving boxes and doing all the stuff, like, to participate alongside of someone, be it your child, your partner, your friends. There's a lot of value in not being hands off. I would beg you all to be hands on in
Mhm.
everything that you do.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so beautiful. And it's I can relate to that too because so I'm in real estate and we have a bunch of rental properties and I think I told you one time, it was a time where I was so busy at work and feeling really just like unfulfilled and pulled into a funky direction that I wasn't happy with, but I wasn't making changes. And I remember the one time, I think it was like actually this time last year because our rentals turn over around this time of year.
Mhm.
I was in one of our student rentals, like literally scrubbing student rental toilets. Like,
Mhm.
how sexy does that sound? And I could not have been more happy because I was doing something next to my husband that was ours. Like it was our thing. We were together in it. We were doing it together and I was so in it. And I just felt like it's going to sound goofy, but I don't know how else to say it. Like I just felt like this is real life.
Mhm.
Like I'm not pretending, I'm not doing something for someone else. I'm not like I'm doing something that I genuinely really care about, that I feel really inspired to do with my and when I say I'm doing like not cleaning the toilet exactly, but like, moving this property forward like for our family and just to be so connected to what I was doing, even though the actual task I was doing wasn't something I would say like, "Oh, I love cleaning toilets." Yeah.
Right.
So, it's so interesting when you're so, like, in the zone and you're so connected into, like, a purpose, even if the actual activity that you're doing doesn't seem like what you think you would wanna do, when you're so connected in with a purpose, I feel like that's where you get that feeling,
Yeah.
you get that feeling of just, like, the accomplishment and the, like, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, but what
Yeah.
matters, what I'm working towards. And I think that's such an amazing thing. And, like, for you to be in it now, I mean, I just keep thinking about you because 'cause I'm like, "Wow, like, 7 weeks, like, okay, yeah, it's one thing to say, like, I did this weekend job, and it was and, like, I helped, like, do this little project, but, like, you have been in it for 7 weeks, like,
Yeah, and
holy
then
sh."
I go home and do laundry and pay the bills at my own house and, catch up there, visit my family, go to the games, softball and baseball games and dive in over there and then pack the car back up with, all my vitamins and vital proteins and, all the stuff I need for the week. I grocery shop via Instacart, usually from the sidelines of a softball game or a baseball game, and then have it delivered to my hometown house, pack up my groceries, and then bring them here because it's kind of a distance to go grocery shopping here. So I just get everything delivered to that house. They get what they need. I pack up what I need and head back up here. This week, I brought Hadley, my dog, which is for some reason making me emotional because I've been so lonely and my mental health was really struggling last week. I don't know why I'm getting upset. Probably because it's hard. It's hard and sometimes it's scary and to have no one to talk to and which is stupid because I talk to people for a living, but I don't talk about myself. I don't have anyone to care about up here when everyone goes home. And she's sitting right next to me. She's a turd. And it gives me someone to I don't know, like to be concerned about, get myself out of my own self-concern, I guess. And she's definitely helped. So, like, if you know someone that's sitting at home by themselves, call them because being lonely is tough. And, go out to lunch with them because when you get inside your own head, you only have yourself to think about, and that can be a lot. So, this week I brought the dog. This week is the first week I'm staying on the island, which is very isolating in a beautiful way. But being a single woman here, it can be a little intimidating. I don't have neighbors to call out, if I need something. And so, having a little guard dog, so to speak, that hears everything has been great. And also, like I said, someone to bitch at and, have as a partner walking around the house has been really helpful. But yeah, it's been quiet.
Yeah.
It's been
The
quiet. I
quiet
usually
part.
can't sleep very long in the morning because my head starts going of all the things I want to accomplish in a day. So I'm usually up between 5 and 6. So before most people are getting out of bed, I've had 4 hours of my day, and the stress. The stress is a lot, the finances, and this has to work. We basically have given all of our savings to this project. And, it's basically like I'm starting a business. This is an investment into a business. So if someone out there is like, I invested $200,000 into this business, it's like, yeah, this is a business
Mm.
that I'm investing in, and there's a lot of stress involved. everything needs to be purchased. Today I went through and I'm like, okay, you need a toothpaste, a toothbrush holder. You need trash bags. You need pillows. You need like I just spent $1,000 just on pillows and sheets. Just pillows and sheets, $1,000. Like everything has to be purchased. Every drop of soil, every bit of grass seed, every piece of wood. Fortunately, we are finding like wood and so on and so forth, but like it all has to be purchased. It has to be thought through. It has to be gauged. Is that a need or is that a want? Is that going to have a return on investment? And also the being away from my family, what's the return on investment? Like there has to be in my mind, this is part of my legacy is this property now. It's something that I will leave to my family, something that hopefully they will enjoy or make money off for, decades to come. And I know that for whatever reason, and, the retreats, I know that that'll be part of my legacy too, is being able to host retreats here with people and change lives. But I know that this is a part of my path and journey that is pretty profound in whatever way is yet to be seen. But it's been quiet, and a lot of the noise has that I've filled my life with has fallen away. And I think that and you know how they say when you go on a week vacation, it takes 2 days to just calm down, to be present enough to enjoy your vacation?
Yeah.
I'll tell you 7 weeks is 7 weeks you're there.
Yeah. You have arrived and then some.
You have arrived in 7 weeks into presence, and if you ever have the opportunity to take that kind of time, like, sometimes I don't know if you ever heard, but they say when men retire, very often they pass away shortly thereafter because they don't have that buzz, they don't have that thing to live for, and I can tell you that that probably happens at around 7 weeks after because it's like, now you know that you're alone. Now you know who you are. Now the you has shown up. The buzz is gone. The vacation
Yeah.
is gone. And, it's very powerful. It's
I
very
think
powerful.
I think this topic is so powerful and so important today in where we are in our society because I feel like we're being shown, that's what COVID was all about, like amongst other things, but like showing us that when things slow down, like what life can look like. Like
Mhm.
I feel like we've been given just like a glimpse behind the curtain with COVID, just like a glimpse, like, hey, this is what it can be like. Do you want that?
Yeah.
As a society, like, do you want that as a in, your personal life? What do you want that to look like? And it's funny, I was actually just this morning on my ride around to get everybody where they needed to go, listening to a podcast, and they were talking about the especially women and the addiction of busyness and,
Mm.
all that we have put on ourselves between being a mom and if you work, that stress, and then all of the things to where there is no time. And then when you find the time, it's a conversation you and I were having yesterday. When you find the time, you try to fill it back up because it is so uncomfortable to feel like you have this space. You feel like you should be accomplishing things or filling it with stuff that we never stop to feel our feelings.
Mm-mm.
We never stop to like actually check in with ourselves and figure out what the hell is going on. And often we don't do that because when we start to, it's really fucking painful.
Yeah.
Like, so fucking painful. So I think, like, no, I guess, if you're listening to this, like, number 1, no, you're not alone if you're feeling that way and you're going through it. The quiet is really hard, but it's also the opportunity to feel your feelings and to work through things as well. There's gotta be the balance, right? Like, there's gotta be the balance between having the time and space to feel your feelings and then the connection and the movement of life too. Like we need to find a space where we can have and do both, but we're so, I think, as a society we've leaned so far into the production and the busyness and how that just consumerism and capitalism and and all of that, and it's needed, right, for the capitalist society for us to be that way, that we've forgotten about being.
You know, it's so funny they're showing me right now. They're showing me, like, laying in the grass. Lay in the grass and, like, be uncomfortable. Have the urge to get up and stop laying in the grass. Have that urge to be done laying in the grass and move past that and move past it even more. And the thoughts of, okay, this was enough. All right, this is dumb. All right, I don't need to do this anymore. Okay, I'm bored. Okay, it's time to go. And all of these thoughts are going to come up as you lay in the grass and move past that and move past that. And you're getting to the fifth week and you're getting to the sixth week in your mind's eye of laying in the grass and having the urge and stay in the grass, laying there with your eyes closed in the sun or in the evening, whatever it is, whatever feels right for the time of day and move past and through all of that ego that says, "We're done here. We need to get back to what we were doing. We need to get back on the path of walking wherever we're at, or get back inside the house, or go make dinner." Move past that. Move past all of that until you until that discomfort, until that sense of urgency to leave moves through and you get to the other side and you're finally there. And then you're at the seventh week. Then you get
That
there.
that's really good.
That's the 7 weeks right there. That's what it feels like.
I love that.
It's so good. Uh,
Everyone needs to do that. And I think when you start it when you're talking too, I'm like, "Oh, I definitely feel that urge of like, okay, we have to be done. Like we have to do the next thing."
mhm,
And I see people do that too. And it's like this, it is it's like an urge. Like that's just the word that comes to me when I think about that feeling. It's the urge to be like, okay, we're done with this next task. It's like that, it's that like addictive sort of energy of like on to the next thing so I don't have to be present. And I think that is such a powerful way. Like as I was imagining doing that and what you're saying, like it's almost like releasing the grip. Like you're releasing a grip of the urge to be busy, to like have that busyness addiction. And then finally it's just like your hands are loose and you're there.
mhm. It's and I think this is an American thing, a Western, because one of the guys helping me is from in Europe. He's from a place in Europe. And we were actually sitting outside talking about how, in other countries, they have 4-hour dinners. They savor the glass of wine and the bread and the salad and the one bite of appetizer, and they spend hours at cafes drinking coffee. They wouldn't even consider walking around and eating or drinking a cup of coffee. You sit for that.
Yeah.
And as we were talking about it, I thought about how beautiful it is to savor every sip of coffee and conversation, wherein I can spend 2 hours making dinner, 5 minutes eating it, and then I stand up and start doing the dishes, and it's like, how fast can I get to the next thing? And
Mm.
nothing is savored,
Yeah.
nothing. And I was thinking about that when I was eating the other day, is if you just eat slower, you actually get to taste it. You don't have to eat, you know, 3 cups of ice cream if you savor and take time and are present during the, 4 or 5 bites of an actual serving size. If you just are present,
Slow down.
every bite matters, and you don't need to extend the time or the amount of food, extend the length of time that it takes you to eat it. This is what 7 weeks will do to your brain, just so you guys know. This is what 7 weeks looks like. You start paying attention. Because honestly, I don't really take a lot of time to eat. It's lots of protein yogurts, it's lots of bananas. I'm here by myself, so it's not a lot of dinners. But
But those are the simple pleasures too.
yeah.
Like as I'm listening to you say that, I'm thinking like, what do I do when I have more time? And it's so funny. I was a guest on someone's podcast yesterday and they asked me what what I want my retirement to look like. And I'm like, whoa. You mean when I don't have a lot of things to do, what would I like to do? Like, because that's really the question, right? Like, that's
Yep.
what you're asking. And I was like, holy shit, that's a really good, like, I was like, I need to like journal on this. This is like, I'm not thinking that way. It was
Mm.
just such a funny question. But we were talking about that. And I'm just like, I'm thinking about the slowdown and like, what do I like to do when I have time? And like, I love to cook.
Mm.
I love to cook and I never do because it's always just like, how quick can I get something on the table that everybody can eat really, really fast, right? So it's like, if we just had a little more time, like if you just had a little more time, what would you do? Like, think about it. What would you do? Like, what, even if it was just a little bit of time, like, how would you savor what you were doing versus just getting through it? And I think if we can all just carve out a little bit of space, right? Like, you don't need to go be away for 7 weeks to do that. Like,
Y
how can you carve out just a little bit of time to savor your life?
Yeah, what are we rushing for? You don't get this day back.
Yeah, and that's funny. So that's, like, actually the other thing that I was thinking about this morning about talking to you about was you you have had a post on TikTok that was about you're never gonna get there, there's no end game,
There's no end game.
right? And I think this is, like, the perfect sort of tying this conversation in a bow is, like, there is no end game. You're not gonna be happy
Mm-mm.
when. You're gonna be happy during.
Yep.
So, how do you wanna slow down and savor your life? And, what a beautiful message that is.
Yeah, I mean, there's no end game. I'm not getting anywhere. I don't get a prize at the end of this. And when you were just talking about retirement, what's funny is, like, what would you do if, when you're done, right? What would you do if you didn't have to do XYZ? And my answer is exactly what I'm doing. I wouldn't trade this for anything. If I didn't have to do this, I would still do this. I think it's a part of everything that I do is a part of who I am. My career, my podcasting, my this island project, all of the things that I do, I would do if I didn't have to do it because technically, financially, I don't.
Yeah.
And I think that is interesting because it's the litmus test of I really do just enjoy it. I really am doing this. Like, clearly, there's financial motivation and freedom and energy exchange. Clearly, there is a desire for a future of more freedom. And that is a absolute factor in all of this. I'm not denying that. But I still would be doing this if I didn't have to. Every bit of it. I don't have to wake up at 5. I don't have to wake up at 6. I don't have to do these things, but it is so part and parcel of creativity and creation and a goal and a vision that I can't imagine not doing it.
Yeah.
I just can't. Like I have 2 more calls I think after this. No, I have a call after this with a client and then someone's coming to hopefully buy the RV. And then like I'm excited to go to Menards. Like I'm excited to go to Menards. You know what I mean? I'm excited for my workers to get here. I'm excited to be done when I'm done with this podcast to see what the dirt looks like that I see him walking back and forth putting outside. I'm excited to see the sink put right up, in this downstairs bathroom. I'm excited to see what the shears look like when I put them on the windows. Like these things, and this might sound like ugh, to the listeners, but when you walk into a bedroom and the sun shines in through those, white sheer curtains, to me, that's magic. I mean, that is magical to see the sun coming through like that. To me, it's magical to see a toothpaste brush holder that matches the, the hardware on the new vanity that I bought, or the lights that I picked out looking just a certain way, and it feeds my soul. It feeds it's like, now that my youngest is about to be 12 in a couple weeks here, I think that this project or projects of my future, these are my next children, these are my creation. This is my way of still experiencing creation. And I think for women and, men too, we have to flex that muscle of creativity, be it through art or design, fashion, whatever it is, because it feeds our soul. It
Mhm.
makes us feel alive. And I think that we get away from that sometimes. We follow the Instagrammers, we do exactly what they do. We can use them as inspiration, but, I think it's important to go and follow what feeds your soul, be it pottery or welding or, selling cars. It doesn't matter what it is, but if it feeds your soul, then I think you're on the right path.
Yes.
So good.
So good.
And in the meantime, the other house kitchen was just completely demoed yesterday. So they filled an entire dumpster yesterday of my old kitchen and laundry room. So I'm interested to see what that's going on over there. So
There's a
that
lot going on.
there's so much.
Didn't you say you got like a download or a message that you would be living there at some point?
Yeah. In the island house or in the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because a lot of times when I'm doing stuff, like yesterday, I moved in here. No, the day before yesterday, I moved in here because they're living at the other house while they work on it. And I was like, "This is the first night I'm spending the night in the island house," but it hit different. It didn't hit the same way. It hit a little different than just staying here. Like, and I'm not saying I'm not, gonna be Airbnb in it, but it felt, I don't know, it felt a little bit more eternal. And it's not like I'm not going home. My kids are in, 3,000 sports. They're in middle school. They're in their thing. Like, they're not leaving their friends and their life, and I respect and honor that. My husband has a full-time job downtown Chicago, but, that doesn't mean that in a few years we won't be here, or at least, part of the time. We'll see.
Yeah. It will unfold.
It will definitely unfold. This morning when I woke up and I put a video up on social, the mist on top of the lake with the sunrise and the Canadian geese and swans swimming around, that mist is reminds you that we live in a magical place that is for us, and to not get so outside of ourselves and into the busy that we don't connect with nature and we don't connect with the grass, we don't connect with water, that we allow ourselves to be present in this beautiful place, in earth. Inside of, even if it's just a sunrise or a sunset, like, just take a minute. Take a minute and go outside and see the stars. That's one thing, we do not have light pollution here either, so the stars are just I w I don't have blinds on my windows, and so when I go to bed at night, the moon is literally shining through my window there, and I'm just like,
Beautiful.
it's literally like magic, and I do wanna share this with people because I think it is really special, and I'm excited to share it with people who want to come here and experience it a little bit. So, yeah, it's been
Yeah.
cool.
So, like, before we close out, why don't you let people know about what you have going on there this summer?
So, yeah, I put on social media yesterday as a kick in the pants or the day before that I'm going to be hosting a retreat sometime in July and sometime in August. I still haven't had time to look at the calendar to pick out some dates. And it'll be 3 days, 2 nights, all meals included, even if that means we're making them ourselves. I don't know if there's too many chefs around here to bring us food, but that will be included, and it's going to be double occupancy for the most part, and I only have 7 spots per retreat so that everyone gets their own bed. Mm.
Now, because I'm coming.
Allison's like, "I will be
See y'all
there."
there.
But yeah, I plan on doing sound bowls in the barn, which the acoustics will be insane. I am
Mhm.
so excited for that. I suspect we'll be doing yoga in the mornings, maybe some boating, kayaking, some workshops, Q&A sessions. So it'll be a nice 3-day, moment. We own 20 acres, so have at it, walk in the woods, get lost, get dirty, go fishing, like all the things are here. And so I think it'll be a really cool time to connect, and so, yeah, that's my plan. And in the fall, I will amp that up to even, like, more retreats, even if they're, like, longer or maybe more days, because there are, like, maybe we'll do, like, a soul sister retreat, which is, like, a little bit more, like, fun energy. I stole that soul sister from my friends Maddie Maple and Bianca, where it's just a little bit more, like, laid back, maybe doing some winery tours. We'll play with it. It won't all be
It'd be so
serious.
fun. I
Yeah,
can't wait.
yeah. Come vacation with me. Come
I'm
vacation.
so excited, not only to experience because I know you're gonna put together some amazing things, but just kind of connecting with your story and that the space that you're at. So, I'm really excited, and I'm sure other people are too.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be great. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
bringing the topic again, Allison. You never cease to amaze me. I love it so much.
Well, it's so fun. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. I'll see you guys here next week, and Allison will be back because I have no desire to come up with a topic, so she's here for it. See you next week,
Yeah.
guys. Thanks for listening. If you would like to connect on a more personal level, head over to meredithwillits.com or on Instagram at Meredith with a Y for behind the scene footage and outtakes. Please subscribe and come back each week for more Meredith with a Y. Thanks again for listening. Cheers.